Now let's talk about non-consumables. The most common in-app purchase for this category are pay to get rid of ads or pay to remove ads and to unlock levels. Pay to remove ads is something you definitely want to do. Unless you realize your app is generating a lot of revenue from ads, at which point you can remove that functionality in the form of an update. But apart from that unlikely scenario, it is a great thing to do. I price removing the ads at $2 and a single user will hardly ever generate that kind of money from ads alone. So it is great when someone pays for it. It is like having users that would be willing to pay to download your app in the first place, pay for your app, but users who wouldn't be willing to pay and only download free apps still give you revenue from ads. So it's like the best of both worlds. So definitely do it. Now, the other common non-consumable is unlocking levels. But remember, we don't do levels, so what can you do? Well, what I sometimes do when it makes sense with the game is unlock checkpoints. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, let's go back to the ninja running idea. Something you can do is, for example, have the speed of the obstacles that the user has to avoid increase over time in order to have increased difficulty. So, like the more time the user spends without dying, the faster the obstacles go and the more points he or she will get. We could say that after 1,000 points, the background can change color or just be different and the user unlocked a checkpoint, right? So next time he or she can start from that point instead of all the way from the beginning. And this point, is a little bit quicker and more demanding to them, so they don't have to start every single time from the easy part. They can just start from here. There could be several checkpoints like this, the last few checkpoints being very, very hard to achieve. Unlocking these checkpoints could be done with a non-consumable in-app purchase, right? So like if the user wants to try the hardest part of the game when the obstacles are going very, very fast and the background is like super awesome and the obstacles look really cool, then he or she would most likely have to pay for each of the checkpoints he or she wants to unlock. And this is just one example. But you have to remember that the games must be simple. So only do this if it makes sense with the game. Don't overcomplicate the game and take 3 times as longer and invest 3 times as much money, because it will just not be worth it. Only do it for games that make sense, otherwise stick to paying to remove ads and that's it. I also want to note that unlocking those checkpoints we talked about could also be done on a coins basis, like consumable basis. So like you would need a certain amount of coins to unlock it rather than skipping a certain amount of obstacles without dying. If done this way, then unlocking checkpoints can be done with consumable purchases rather than non-consumable, because the user will have to pay for coins, which then in turn would use to unlock the checkpoints. It's up to you to decide which you think is best for the game you're doing. Just please remember to keep it simple.